Rise and shine, Rwanda. It's Monday, the 14th of September. Good morning. It's just after 7 o'clock in the morning, and you're watching Rise and Shine Rwanda with me, Regis Isheja.
And me, Fidelis Karangwa.
And over the next hour, we'll bring you all the latest news, sports, and business headlines from here in Rwanda and around the world. And the Rise and Shine team is here. It's the new week, guys. What do you have in the world of the money?
Well, in the money, I thought, it's been a while since me and you sat down and had a chat about, some of the biggest business stories that are out there. I mean, last week we were talking about Rwanda. I'm going to bring that up again. So we're going to have like a really good
I want you and I to sit down and talk business.
Exactly. We're going to talk business today. Don't worry about it.
Right. Arnold, sports, what do you have for us?
Well, a lot of business in the world of sport, money being made by no one else than Floyd Mayweather picked up another grand check of $80 million.
The money team.
Yeah, over one night, as he claims. He has retired from the sport. US Open finals were over the weekend.
Peneta?
Peneta is the lady, you win and then you go out in style. Liverpool defeat, Amavubi defeat, but the biggest news from the weekend was Janvier Hardy winning that All Africa Games gold medal in cycling for Team Rwanda.
Brazzaville, we'll talk about all that in a little bit, and all that and more still to come, but first, Rise and Shine story of the day. Rwanda is the 13th most vulnerable country to climate change and other global challenges, and the 90th least ready country to improve its resilience, which is why understanding disaster risks is very fundamental and vital for the country. The United Nations Development Programme, in collaboration with the government of Rwanda, held the National Disaster Risk Atlas in Kigali to address the issue. Take a look. It is a result of the first ever comprehensive disaster risk assessment process ever conducted in Rwanda. It focuses on 5 main hazards, namely drought, landslide, flood, earthquake, and windstorms. The atlas also highlights the elements at risk and how vulnerable they are, and finish with drawing recommendations on mitigation measures to be undertaken. About 2.8 million Rwandans are exposed to windstorms at an intensity of moderate to strong gale, and 148 health facilities and about 882 schools are also exposed to windstorms. 5 catchments have been identified to be more prone to floods, and these are Nyabarongo, Sebeya, Nyabisindu, Mukungwa, and Kagitumba. Better safe than sorry. Regis Isheja, Rise and Shine Rwanda.
Very interesting report, Hajis. I feel like, especially now with all the rain that's been happening, there's never been a perfect time to have a conference like this in the country. But why do they find it so important to address this issue now as opposed to the past when we've previously heard of other disaster issues that have happened?
Well, as you know, they have been talking about us having a storm here in Rwanda, which is something you don't hear often, especially this part of the continent. There's a lot of places that are affected, especially schools, in rural areas. And when they were talking in Sebeya, when we're talking in parts of the country where they're not really ready to face these storms. So the UNDP and the government of Rwanda feel like it's time to really, truly address these issues once and for all. And for that to happen, I mean, you have to educate people first. So it has to be about climate change. It has to be about, storms. It has to be about floods. Anything that can actually happen. We know we have the Nyabarongo, and you never know what can happen over there, right? So they're just trying to make sure that we're being cautious.
And we're ready.
Absolutely.
Now, we've heard reports before, but do you know the exact number of people affected by these floods every year?
Right. The rough number is 2.8 million Rwandans
That's a
who
lot
are
of
affected.
people.
Absolutely. And, you know, the objective, the first objective is to lower that number. Then after that, we can start thinking about, you know, making sure that there's like close to zero casualty. But even in countries that are very advanced, they still have problems when they're facing floods, when they're facing storms. So it's still baby steps here and there. But you know, it's a great thing. The conference that took place at Serena was a way to actually tell people we're not just, you know, sitting here being bystanders and watching what's happening. It's not the news. I mean, we need to really do, you know, something about this and take care of our own problems and, you know, sensitize the, you know, the education system, sensitize the population, have them being, you know, ready to face whatever might be thrown their way.
Yeah. Now, I mean, it's one thing that they're already putting these efforts, but are the Rwandans ready? Because I feel like it also comes down to our culture, maybe our tradition. I mean, it's very often that people will think, hey, it's raining, let me go under a tree, because for them that's logical, right? So do you think that Rwandans are ready to embrace these new mechanisms that are going to be taught to them to avoid all these disasters?
Well, I'm glad that you're talking about that, because I want to do another report very soon, actually, in the coming weeks about, you know, how what Rwandans feel about thunderstorms, what they feel about floods, what they feel about storms, if they
do
actually
you understand how they even work?
Right. Do they know that being close to a tree
Yes.
is not the smartest thing
Yes.
to do in that case? I mean, I want to do a full-on vox pop where I actually, you know, pop here and there on the streets and then ask people how they face these, you know, climate issues, and then also talk to them about climate change, because, you know, you and I might be a little bit knowledgeable about it, learn it in school or watch the news, but there's another portion of the population that, and it's not their fault, they need to be told about these things, that, you know, there's certain months where it used to be really rainy, it's not anymore. Why is that? I mean, you know, certain things where we need to really, you know, pinpoint those that need to be taught, those kind of things, and teach them. So hopefully I'll have someone from Midimar to actually come in the studio after I've done the Vox Pop and then talk about it.
I think that's very important, because I mean, they're not only being affected as in when it comes down to their lives, it also comes down to, you know, agriculture, farming. I mean, now they cannot predict, but if they understood how these things work better, that they know when to grow crops, when to do this, what measures to take to protect their crops. I think it's very, very
I know you
important.
remember when we had the Honorable Minister Jean-Philbert Nsengimana on the show, and he was talking about how this is an agriculture-heavy economy. We're still an agriculture-based economy, and we're trying to move into a knowledge-based economy. For that to happen, it's going to take a while. But in the meantime, we have to take care of what brings in income first,
Yes.
which is agriculture. So, yes, I agree totally. We need to do something about it. But again, it starts with, you know, teaching people about what this does to them and then how to face those kind of things. And that's why we need an expert in studio.
Yes.
And hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to do that.
Yeah, now one last thing before we wrap up. The other thing that I noticed is even last week when they sent out that the information about the thunderstorm that was about to happen, I feel like most people who were able to access it were people who have internet, who have WhatsApp. But what happens for the Muturaje down there in the village who has no idea how the internet works?
Well,
what's being done to help them?
Absolutely. Contrary to you know, our belief and popular belief, the average citizen, the average Rwandan, the everyday Rwandan, is very knowledgeable when it comes to actually being on the internet. They use the internet a lot. They might not be using it the right way. They might be more on WhatsApp and on Facebook and not necessarily checking out what's actually happening, the warnings and all these things, you know, checking out government websites. But you know, they're on the internet. Maybe they need to know where to go on the internet.
Where to look.
But
so
they are on it.
conferences like this will help them know where to look
Absolutely.
and what time to
Watch
go.
Rise and Shine Rwanda, you'll know. You'll have an
We'll
idea.
get you covered.
Absolutely.
Perfect, Regis. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. While you're watching Rise and Shine Rwanda, stay with us. We'll be right back with business.
Here is to traveling and saving. Starting 1st of April to the 1st of June, travel with Rwandair and take advantage of our reduced fares and enjoy our world-class services in great comfort and safety.
Fly our dream to the heart of Africa.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. Let's get to today's business stories. Fidelis Karangwa has the details.
Business stories making headlines today. Farmers have been urged to embrace modern agriculture practices to improve output and earn more from their efforts. The Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources, Dr. Jardine Mukeshimana, made the remarks recently while touring agricultural infrastructure projects being developed in Bugesera district, including a multi-million produce storage facility, where she urged farmers and other sector stakeholders to add value to their produce, saying it is one of the ways to which they can reduce post-harvest losses. The facility, which will have the capacity to hold more than 6,000 tons, is expected to reduce losses by 30% when completed, and will help farmers in Bugesera and neighboring districts to increase production so that the warehouse is used maximally. Rwanda, the national airline, is still in talks with potential investors to acquire 30% stake. The national carrier has acquired 2 new Airbus aircrafts, which will see the airline begin operating Europe and Asia routes, which is expected to attract potential buyers. So far, according to Rwanda, some of the airlines that have been in talks, which include Ethiopian Airline and Etihad Airline, which hopes to sell 30% of its stake to inject capital it needs to improve efficiency and fight off competition from regional and international competitors. And Phoenix Metals Limited, a leading tin smelter in Kigali, has failed to secure a conflict-free smelting certificate to enable it to export freely to global markets. This follows the strict enforcement of the conflict-free resource sourcing initiative under the Global Conflict-Free Smelting Program that had made tracing, auditing, and certificates of minerals compulsory to ensure that they are conflict-free. The smelter is on the CFSP active list. However, during this time, CFSP will not share details about the smelter's progress in accordance with the provisions of the non-disclosure agreement.
All right, Fifi, so tell me, what has it been like previously for farmers to access warehouses?
Well, let's just start from the roots. So initially, most farmers used to practice subsistence farming. And that's what the government has been trying to change for a long time. So they're trying to push farmers to produce their crops and sell them, because this would be a good way for them to make money.
Right.
But once again, because there's been a shortage of storage facilities in the country, that has been a major problem. We've seen the East African Exchange come into play, trying to help them, not only because these storage facilities will make them make more money, but they'll also help them to get, credit. So what they do is they take the receipts for what they've produced, and they can get credit from banks and all these things, which can help them develop their everyday life. So the construction of this particular facility started in 2013 and is expected to end in December this year. And it's one of the strategic storage reserves that's being built in different parts of the country. And basically, with a capacity of about 6,000 tons, that's a lot of crops that are being saved.
Right.
And hopefully farmers understand why they need to save these crops, because it's still quite a new practice that has not really synced in for them, and they don't really understand how it works. But like I said, the East African Exchange has been doing a lot, teaching people. I've actually talked to people from the East African Exchange, and they were telling me how they've actually made it a priority for them to go district to district, explaining to them how these warehouses would work and how they would help them. And hopefully, with another one coming into play, it will really change their lives.
Okay, now why has accessing mining certificates been an issue here in the country?
Well, initially, industrialists worldwide they've been very tight about this conflict-free minerals, because we've heard about it, we don't know how it works. So and reported had it that most of the minerals that are coming out of the East African region, or rather even actually the East Africa and Congo and all these countries, are not conflict-free, and most people do not want to buy minerals that are not conflict-free. So basically, since this agreement came into play, there's been a lot of issues that have had to be dealt with. Minister Evod Imena was talking about, and he said they've had to reevaluate all their rules, all their what their guidelines are, so that they can let people come into Rwanda and start practicing mining. So basically, that has slowed down the pace in which they used to issue mining certificates. And right now, there's talks that it takes up to 4 to 6 months, and for some investors, that's a bit too long. They're thinking this is money that's just sitting there and being wasted. So that's why we have people like Phoenix that who are saying it's going to affect how they export goods. So hopefully, but they address this issue, and they're saying very soon they should be able to get their certificates and be able to mine. So it should be dealt with very soon.
Well, you're doing a fantastic job. I love the report.
Thank you very much.
All right, Fidelis.
Well, the update today is business headlines. Post news coming up next in just a minute on Okwizera.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. Time now for your sports news. I'm Arnold Kwizera. Team Rwanda cyclist Janvier Hadi last afternoon clinched gold in the men's 150-kilometer road race at the ongoing All-Africa Games in Congo-Brazzaville. Hadi was in a group of 8 in a breakaway peloton in the first lap, with Joseph Biziyaremye up against a strong field of continental elite riders. Hadi broke away on the last lap to gain a 1-minute lead over the rest of the pack for his second medal at the ongoing African Games. Moving on to boxing, Floyd Money Mayweather confirmed his retirement from boxing to the sports world after another unanimous decision victory win, this time over Haitian-American Andrea Battle. The American equaled Rocky Marciano's record of 49 unbeaten fights, and despite once again throwing the last punches, his connection rate was higher than his younger opponent in retaining his WBC and WBA titles. And finally, in the US Open tennis, Flavia Pennetta won her first Grand Slam singles title over Roberta Vinci in an improbable all-Italian US Open final but then added one more shock to a stunning fortnight by announcing her retirement from the sport. With the 7-6, 6-2 win, the 33-year-old Pennetta becomes the 4th oldest Grand Slam winner in the Open era and joins 2010 French Open champion Francesca Schiavone as the only Italian woman to win a major singles title. Vinci, ranked 43rd in the world, had stunned Serena Williams, earning the world #1's bid for a calendar Grand Slam.
All right, Arnold. So Javier Hadi is the pride of the entire nation right now. One of our, elite sportsmen who are making us proud.
Yeah, finally, I think I'm one of those people who has been rooting for Javier Hadi for a while. Shocking going into the Tour de Rwanda last year. He was the most recognizable name, in that team, being that Adrian Niyonshuti was now a professional rider with Team Kubeka in South Africa. So Javier Hadi came in, he won the time trials last year at the Tour de Rwanda, but went on to be a part-time member to Valence Daisenga when Valence went on to win that much-needed Tour de Rwanda victory for a Rwandan cyclist on home turf. But now, finally, after so many near moments, he has won himself an individual title with a 150-kilometer race. You felt it's something that favored him. He is renowned for his sprinting,
abilities.
Yes, his sprinting abilities. He's the best sprinter on that Team Rwanda. But when you looked at the course of the race, 150 kilometers over around the circuit, you felt he always had an opportunity or a chance, because what tends to be his weaknesses is in the hills and mountains. He's not a great climber as he is a sprinter. So on a flat terrain and surface, he is one of the contenders, the main to be. But don't take anything away from that contingent of riders that had the South African team, that had the Ethiopians and the Egyptians early and the Algerians, because a few days earlier, Team Rwanda in the team time trial won bronze medal, and that was it finished third behind Team South Africa and Team Algeria. Good performances for Team Rwanda, again also finishing fourth in the women's individual time trial. You feel cycling again continues to be
it's one of the success stories when it comes to sports in Rwanda.
It's one of the top,
very few.
Yeah, the top successful stories for Rwandan sports at the moment.
All right, moving on to boxing and to the money man, Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather claims it's his last fight. 49 wins?
49 wins.
0 defeat?
No defeat.
And what do you make of his fight on Saturday, but mostly about him retaining 2 or 3 titles right now?
Two WBC and WBA.
2 belts and moving on to retirement. Do you really believe and truly believe this retirement?
One, I don't believe in the retirement yet, because for a man of his, caliber, showbiz, and his love for the limelight and attention, you feel Floyd Mayweather wants to go out and beat those record books. He would want to have this record to himself and maybe beat the great Rocky. Yeah, but you feel Floyd Mayweather may give us a final fight, fight number 50, and I'll still put my money on having a Mayweather-Pacquiao 2 fight, maybe not next year, 2016, maybe early 2017, as both are going to have very busy schedules. Pacquiao has to go into his
political aspirations.
Political aspirations. He has to run for a second term or run for the Senate this time. Yeah, because he's now a member of Congress in Philippines. So you feel he may concentrate on his political career. But these are the two greatest fighters of their generation now. Andrea Bato once again proved what Floyd Mayweather has come to be known for as the king of defense, because Bato threw a number of about 469 punches to Floyd Mayweather's 423, but Mayweather connected with 57% of his, to Bato connecting with only, and I repeat, only 17%, which was about 83 punches out of 400 plus punches thrown, which shows the defensive prowess of Floyd Money Mayweather, and that's what he has come to be known for in his career. For a few minutes, gave us a little bit of entertainment here and here. We saw Bato's knees knuckle, and maybe we thought Floyd Mayweather is finally going to get a knockout punch. He has only had about 26 in his career, but Bato is not the opponent we expected, to give Floyd Mayweather a run for his money. Even Amir Khan could have done a better job, or could have given us a better anticipation to a fight. So I think it records the lowest number of money Floyd Mayweather has gone on to win now with 70 million pounds collected from that fight. That's less than what Manny Pacquiao earned from their previous bouts.
Flavia Pennetta wins the US Open for women. I expected Serena Williams to win. I was heartbroken because I wanted her to have that calendar year slam. But where do you see things evolving now? Because now coming up is the Paris Masters Series, and then you have the Masters a bit later on. Where do you see, Serena ranking, especially when you think about what she was trying to accomplish?
I think Serena is one of the strongest-minded players in the world. She's the greatest female athlete of all time, no doubt, right now. But if you've been following Serena's career, you wouldn't have been surprised by that defeat to Vinci, because Serena tends to lose to the least expected opponents. You know, when you expect her to wash it, she will come up and lose against the world number 154. She will lose against the world number 43. But if she's playing anyone in the top 5 in a semi-final,
She trashes them.
she beats them. She takes them to school. See her play the Azarenkas, the Sharapovas of this world. It's a different case from when she's playing, you know, a young, starting Sloane Stephens, you know, a Simona Halep starting out. It's a different case, you know, maybe with Vinci and Pennetta, because those are not players who you expected to beat Serena Williams. But when you look at her losses, even this year alone, you know, her 3 losses this year, they have come against opponents ranked outside the top 20. So those are not people you expect to be at Serena's Williams. But she is not the woman of the moment. Right now, the woman of the moment is Pennetta. She has announced her retirement from the sport, beating her childhood friend. This is a lady they grew up in. They play in the same Fed Cup team. And she was quick to correct that to say that she's going to play on until the end of the year, meaning she will be at the Masters title tournament. And, well, finally winning a Grand Slam title for her after...
And then riding into the sunset.
Yeah, and
That's a good ending.
it's
right?
a very good ending, especially after a $3.3 million check.
It never hurts.
It never hurts. Yeah, but good for the sport that maybe someone else is winning besides Serena. Not good for the Serena fans like you and me.
Trust
We didn't have a very good Thursday evening
Not
seeing Serena go out. But all kudos out to Pennetta and Roberto Vinci for getting into that US Open final.
All right. Thank you very much, Arnold. You're watching Rise and Shine Rwanda. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back with the news.
Let's take a look now at news making headlines here in Rwanda and around the world.
His Excellency President Paul Kagame has urged members of the private sector to invest more in agriculture to produce enough food for both consumption and sale in order to develop and improve the country's economy. The head of state made the call while interacting with residents of Nyanza district in the southern province shortly after he visited a major irrigation project developed in Rwabichuma sector. The project includes a dam of 1,500,000 cubic meters built at a tune of 6 billion Rwandan francs. The dam will provide water for irrigation to 300 hectares of farmland in 3 sectors of Nyanza districts of Rwabichuma, Nyagisozi, and Cyabakamyi. While interacting with thousands of local residents at Nyanza Stadium, President Kagame encouraged them to aim for even greater progress. Thanking partners for their role in moving Rwanda forward, President Kagame reminded residents that all resources received must be used efficiently, adding that external assistance cannot be a substitute for hard work.
The Kigali Leadership Summit has proved to be the big inspiration to participants as speakers extolled the importance of visionary leadership. Over the weekend, keynote speakers from Canada, Kenya, South Africa, and the US, Rwanda, and other speakers mentored by the late Dr. Miles Monroe, the founder of the International Third World Leaders Association, discussed the importance of visionary leadership. Organizers said the summit aimed to equip participants with the capacity to exploit their full potential and experience a life based on vision of a better future rather than limitation of what their current encounters. Among the keynote speakers were retired Anglican Bishop John Ruchahana and Charlie Masala, the Senior Vice President of ITWLA.
And in regional news, Uganda's Minister of International Affairs, General Aronda Nyakairima, has died in Dubai while returning from South Korea. It is suspected that he died of a heart attack. The Ugandan government has set up a task force led by Defense Minister Dr. Crispus Kionga to coordinate all matters relating to Nyakarima's death. A team of doctors is being sent to Dubai to assist with the post-mortem and the repatriation of the body. Ugandan Prime Minister Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda described Nyakarima as a dedicated servant of the people of Uganda and that his death was a tragic and huge loss to the country. As the news trickled in of Arunda's death, mourners jammed the tightly guarded home of the deceased general in Buziga, Kampala, to pay their respects. Before his ministerial appointment in 2013, Arunda had served as Chief of Defense Forces from 2003 to 2013.
And in international news, the number of migrants entering Hungary from Serbia hit a new record over the weekend amidst tension of Eastern Europe over how to deal with the crisis. More than 4,000 people walked across the border with Serbia just as the authorities in Hungary were completing preparations to seal the frontier. Europe is struggling to cope with this numerous influx of people, mostly from Syria, fleeing violence and poverty. Hungary has been criticized for how it deals with those crossing into the border. 175,000 migrants have crossed from Serbia into Hungary so far this year. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán has promised to seal the country's borders and arrest any illegal migrants. German Chancellor Angela Merkel defended the decision to let in larger numbers of refugees, saying she was convinced it was right. The crisis has exposed deep divisions within the European Union. Okay, lots more still to come. We'll take a look at what's hot right now in the Daily Debate section, Hot Topics. We'll be right back.
Here is to traveling and saving. Starting 1st of April to the 1st of June, travel with Rwanda and take advantage of our reduced fares and enjoy our world-class services in great comfort and safety.
Fly our dream to the heart of Africa.
Welcome back, and it's that Hot Topics time again. As always, the Rise and Shine Rwanda team have been out and about, gathering everything you need to know about what's happening here and abroad, from what's trending on Twitter to the debates in your local cafe. We've got it for you right here and right now. All right, guys, so there's this new spot in town, in Nyarutarama, not far from tennis club or golf club. It's called Chillax. It's actually in the Centenary Park, the Chinese spots. And so this is a bar, but I consider it to be more of a lounge. Now, I've seen a lot of people go there these days, whether it's, waiting after parties, whether it's, you call it whatever you want to call it, soirees, and it's really working. People are actually liking the place. The lights are very dimmed. They're blue, which is different from your usual, club or restaurant or lounge in Kigali. The lights are blue. The bar is very sophisticated. The area is really nice because when you're actually sitting outside, you have a great view of the Gulf, a great view of, Nyarutarama at that time of the day, that time of the night, I should say. And it's actually a nice place. Now, I feel like without being too advertorial, because this is not what we do here at Rise and Shine Rwanda, I feel like it's actually a nice place to go and chill. And we need more of those. It's not to just give kudos to them, but we need more places so that we can have a variety of places to choose from. Have you been there or have you heard about it?
Unfortunately, I haven't. I heard about it though this past weekend. But I feel like, one, we don't have enough lounges. Like, people have not really understood how a lounge works. So it's good that we finally have one that
it's actually working. People who are there,
exactly.
I've been there maybe 3 or 4 times now, and in 1 month and a half span, and people actually, I feel like they really understand, because you have them like sitting in a group, and they're really sitting, they're ordering their drinks, and it's really, the ambiance is really nice.
Yeah.
The music is good.
Yeah,
It's
and in
very
an area
loungy.
where, in Nyarutarama especially, we've seen so many, restaurants, lounges open, and they didn't do as well before they end up closing down. They start
No
something else.
clientele.
Exactly. So I feel like it also comes down to a marketing strategy. Like, we have recently places that you go to and they give you free tickets to maybe go to a club or something like that. So I feel like marketing is also very important when it comes to how these lounges will succeed, especially in the Rwandan economy. I mean, people like saving money. Hey, I like saving money. If I go to a place and I get a complimentary anything,
Right.
I'm there.
Now, a question I have, the good thing I like about it is you don't have to pay any cover fee to get in. You just pay for your drinks. But the thing is, what I want to understand, how come they haven't shut down? We know what's going on with the noise pollution and all that.
Yes.
And the music is fairly loud. It's
Yes.
just like everywhere else you go. They haven't shut down. And everybody knows where it is. It's become like the place to go.
it's a residential area.
Yeah, why would you, Arnold, if you were to express your point of view, why would you think they haven't shut down so far?
Well, depends a number of factors.
Especially with noise pollution issues that have been going on for such a long
Nyarutarama,
time.
No,
it's
yeah,
a
but
very...
Yeah, but there's a number of factors. Even tennis club plays loud music on days, but it's not shut down. So it depends who owns the
And
place.
this is a residential area.
Yes, who owns the place, one, matters. Two, I don't think the noise coming in from, because they're kind of in a valley place,
Yes.
gets to the people who
Live
up
in the hills.
in the hills, because even living in the hills, their houses are deeper in the hills when we go through those gates. Another thing, I think they must have soundproofed, because it looks soundproofed. I've been to the place about 2 times now. It looks soundproofed, and when you look at Centenary Park, its initial design, which is part of the Kigali City Master Plan, yeah, that place is gazetted for a restaurant and the lounge, and because the problem with the noise pollution areas, some of them bar owners have not been really
Following the guidelines.
following the rules. Because when they're setting up the place, one
It's called
very
a restaurant
Yes.
in the beginning and ends up becoming a
a
pub.
bar. Thank you very much. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and that has happened especially in the Chimihurura area. Most of those restaurants, bars which turn into bars, pubs late in the night, are registered as restaurants. That's why they tend to be shut down.
Right.
Well, very good story there. But now moving on to another hot topic that's actually a very unfortunate one, and people are questioning this particular topic very much, is there's reports of a fire that happened in Kagugu just this past weekend. And mostly what people are talking about the most, not the fact that the fire happened, it's the response from the police. How soon did it happen? Like, they felt like they weren't, as proactive as they should have been. So this fire started. People called them. First of all, the emergency number that you're supposed to call honestly should be a number that you call once and it goes through, because if you're in an emergency situation, it's actually an emergency. Someone needs to pick up and help you. Exactly. But they had to wait, and then after all the waiting, then clearly this whole system of street numbers and all these things has not become something that the Rwandan people have fully understood how it works. So even directing the police to the place where it was a problem. So even by the time that they came, the Baturage had already done their part as much as they can, but I mean the people who were trapped in the house when it was burning down had already taken in enough fumes to maybe affect their lives. So the question is, do you feel that the Rwanda National Police is responding as quickly as it should when it comes to these emergency situations?
Well, I'll first say this. Having seen how it works in other countries, yes, we do have a problem, but they have more problems over there because, I mean, if you're injured in, let's say, one of those developed countries, quote unquote, at times you call them and they start asking you questions. Okay, can we have the name? Can we have the address? And when did this happen? They're asking you questions while they should be rushing to get there to begin with, send the nearest car. So I feel like this is a worldwide problem, but we just live here, so we have to give more attention to what's happening locally. Now, should they react more promptly, faster? Yes. Now, I don't know the whole thing, but you just gave us a small resume of the whole thing, but I have no idea what's happening. What I just know is that it's not the first time this happens, and a lot of times they tend to say that the police takes its time.
Especially with all the reports that are happening of fires that continue to happen all over Kigali and even Rwanda. Right. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I think maybe one, it's unfortunate that the incident did happen to the people it happened to, but I've been kind of keenly following our responses to fire situations, and even though they're not the best, I felt the police were doing their work. I think they may have some few challenges and hindrances here and there, which may be not enough equipment, fire trucks. Like the Kagugu area has a police station just within that area. So did that police station have a fire truck, that could respond in time? Because if it had a fire truck, then it could be there in about 3 to 5 minutes.
So it's a lack of means?
Yeah, so that can be a factor, because I don't think every police station has a fire truck, and that's down to a few resources, maybe something that needs to be rectified when it comes to our budget spending, and we can put our lawmakers, at task. But when you looked at the incidents that happened earlier this year in Mateos, but we had about 2 to 3 fire incidents. Police response was quick, abrupt. Yes, people lost property worth millions, but they had been warned about how the possibilities of this happening, being in the way that these shops were set up at that time, and they were being asked to shut down, and the police was in a situation of trying to quell and teach people, you must have certain basics in the house. Now, did anyone nearby have a fire extinguisher, or did the apartments that you were affected in Kagugu have a fire extinguisher? Did they follow the correct fire procedures, the right exit, the right exit doors? Were they in place? So yes, the police is wrong, but the people who own the building, were they in position to build something that could easily avoid such hazards? And help save property and the likes. But I think it's due to lack of means at the end of the day, something that needs to be improved upon.
Now, I know this is one house. It could have been anyone's house. So hopefully we can have our good friends from the police come and talk to people about it. And even we could even push for like a sensitization on fire.
A campaign, absolutely.
Campaign, exactly, because we need it. We need it. Well, don't forget, we love to hear your thoughts, comments, and feedback on what we're talking about here on Rise and Shine Rwanda. Tweet us at Rise and Shine RW. Like us on Facebook and send us your ideas for programs. Check out our Rise and Shine Rwanda YouTube page, where you can catch all the shows and the reports that we do daily. Find us on Instagram, Rise and Shine RW. We'd love to see your pictures. or check out our Rise and Shine Rwanda website, www.riseandshinerw.rw.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. We'd love to hear your feedback, so do let us know if you have an idea for the program. You've been watching Rise and Shine Rwanda with me, Regis Isheja.
And me, Fidelis Karango. We'll be back here same time, same place tomorrow, so to join us then. But from the both of us and the rest of the Rise and Shine team, have a very good day. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.